y'all. It can be intimidating to ask a studio to hire you for your next workshop or event. I mean, how do you get your foot in the door at a new studio? How do you know what studio to even approach? What do you do about pricing and marketing? Does the studio take a percentage or do they pay a flat fee? Don't worry, we're covering all of these questions today. Now, before we dive in, we need to identify your workshop title, topic, description, and structure before you pitch your workshop to a studio. This is really, really important. So please make sure you know all of these pieces before you actually go to a studio and choose your location. Possible workshop locations. There's 3 places that you can really offer a workshop. First is at a studio where you're already teaching. This is going to be the easiest option because you already know the teachers, you already know the owner, you already know the students, and they already know you, which is really important to sell your workshop. This is the easiest and what I recommend for newer yoga teachers. The second option is at a new location, maybe a studio where you don't teach. Now, this is going to be a little bit harder because you don't know the students, the studio, the teachers, or the owner. So you're going to have to do a little bit more networking with this. You're going to have to get your foot in the door, and you're going to just have to connect a bit more. That's primarily what we're going to talk about today. Now, third, you can always offer a workshop or an event at an event center or a gym or as part of a yoga teacher training or as part of a retreat. Again, these will take a little bit more networking, and that's not the main focus of today. But if you are looking for those locations, just let us know in the Yoga Teacher Talk Facebook group, and I'd be more than happy to give you some pointers on how to get into some of those locations. Now, today, I want to spend most of our time talking about how to teach at a new studio, one where you're not currently teaching, because this is where most professional and experienced yoga teachers are looking to teach, at a new place. So how can you get your foot in the door there? First, if you're working to teach at a new studio, it's important that in all instances, you're going to present yourself professionally. Be on time for meetings, follow up accordingly, dress appropriately. I mean, I don't expect you to wear a business suit in, but wear appropriate clothing. Don't let your cleavage hang out. Don't let your butt hang out. Dress appropriately. Use good grammar when you're chatting with people, especially via email. Okay, now that's some basic rules, but how do you actually want to get into that studio? First, be prepared. Research and visit the studio. You want to make sure that you actually like this studio. You want to make sure you actually like the teachers, that the energy of the studio matches your energy. You want to make sure that you and the studio have a good relationship. Now, you may be asking, well, why does this matter? Let's say that you want to offer a workshop on spirituality, but the yoga studio itself is very much a fitness type yoga studio. You probably won't make a good fit. You want to find a good energetic fit. You don't want to offer a super spiritual workshop at a really fitness-based workshop or studio for your very first time. You may want to maybe go to another studio that is looking more for spiritual-based teachers. That's going to be an easier way to get your foot in the door. You also want to make sure that you like the teachers. I know this may seem really simple, like, oh, I love all the yoga teachers, but I've walked into places before where I've heard the teachers talking bad about each other. That was not a place that I wanted to ever offer a workshop. So check out the workshop, do your research, learn who is the studio owner, research the mission and the vision of the studio. Now, know who the owner is and look at their teaching class schedule. Which class can you attend? Now I want you to connect. Plan to attend one of the studio owner's classes. Then send them off an email. Send them an email, introduce yourself, and tell them about your workshop idea. Tell them the problem that you're hoping to help their students solve and that you're going to also attend their class. In the notes below, I've included a little example for you so you can kind of learn what would be an example email for me to send. You can copy and paste that, feel free to. But make sure you know your workshop topic and title and the problem that you're going to help them solve, because that's what the studio owner is wanting to know. Now, you've just sent an email and you've told the studio owner, hey, I'm going to be attending this class on so-and-so date. Attend their class. May seem really easy, but 90% of the time, I never get an email back from the studio owner. That's okay. They get tons of emails every single day. I still attend their class. So if you told them you were going to their Monday 12 p.m. class, go to their Monday 12 p.m. class, even if you don't hear from them. I always try and show up at least 15 minutes before their class begins, just so I can sign in, pay, and very briefly chat with them. Say something like, hey, I emailed you and I'd love to speak with you after class about this workshop. And they may be like, oh, I don't remember that email. That's fine. It's okay. They'll still usually talk with you. Be really nice. Then hang around, take their class, do your best, and hang around after class until almost everyone has left. Never interrupt a conversation. Okay? Ask to speak with the studio owner about your workshop. Then you're going to give them your pitch and hand them your example flyer. All right, now this is the part that gets kind of scary. And I feel like I want to jump in here and just tell you that the studio owner may say no. The studio owner may dismiss you and they may just think that it's not important. Then that's not the right fit for you. I've gotten turned down a lot. And turns out it's okay. The world didn't explode and I just went to another studio and I was able to offer a workshop there. So if the studio owner tells you no, don't let that stop you from going to the next place. Just recognize that you're not going to get invited to every single place that you try. But if you keep working at it, if you stay persistent and you keep offering these workshops, then eventually you will be able to go back to that first studio. So don't get discouraged. Okay, so let's say that you've chatted with them and they seem interested. Tell them a little bit about yourself and make sure that in this conversation you ask two important questions. First, what is the pricing structure between the studio and the teacher? And what are the marketing expectations? All right, now I want to briefly go into how this typically can work with a studio. First, with a studio, the first pricing option that I've seen, which isn't very common, is that the studio charges you a flat rate. So they'll say, hey, it's $150 to rent the space, regardless of how many people show up. I have to admit, this isn't very common for most studios, but a lot of event spaces, this will be very common. Now, your option 2, which is a little bit more common, is that you and the studio negotiate a percentage split. Sometimes this is a 50-50 split, 60-40, 70-30, 80-20, but the teacher always makes the larger percentage. Now, you may be thinking, well, what determines the percentage? The marketing expectations and responsibilities. Yeah. The teacher or the studio is hopefully going to do some marketing for you. Not all of it, you'll have to do the majority, but they'll hopefully help you. So ask them about their marketing expectations. You want to have very clear guidelines on what the studio will and will not do. So the studio is probably going to provide the building, they're going to provide the electricity, the bathrooms, the cleaning, etc. These are typical, but the studio will also hopefully provide you with some of the following. They'll put your workshop on their website. They'll hopefully accept the payments and also paying the credit card fees. They'll also allow you to post flyers, do some Facebook posts for you, and market to their email newsletter. Now, every studio may not offer all of these things. I can typically negotiate my pricing with the studio based on how much they will offer. If the studio only wants 20%, then they may only put your workshop on their website and accept the payments. But if the studio wants 40%, then I expect them to do a lot more marketing for me. I expect them to post to Facebook. I expect them to post my workshop in their email newsletter at least twice. There's going to be some negotiations here, but it's critical to know what these negotiations are and what the expectations are when setting up your pricing. Okay, now the follow-up. The follow-up is maybe the most important part of connecting with the studio owner, okay? After your meeting, make sure you follow up with an email thanking them for their time and the opportunity to present at their studio. Just briefly outline what you talked about in your meeting, especially the expectations about the payment structure and the marketing. Again, be professional and courteous in all communication and stay connected. Once you hear back from them, follow up again with your flyer. Go into that studio owner's class again, chat with them again, and ask them about hanging up your flyers. The more face-to-face conversations you can have with someone, the better. Now, I mean, there is always an upper limit. You don't want to be there every single class, but the communication you have with another studio owner is going to build that know, like, and trust between you two. All right, now you've finally set up your location. Yes, you know the pricing structure. Yes, we can finally start to talk about pricing. So in the next article, I'll show you how I like to set up my pricing. So get out there, start networking, start connecting. And remember, the worst thing that someone can say is no. Don't let that scare you. I believe in you. All right, if you need a pep talk about the pros and cons of various locations, or if you're just really nervous about going and connecting, then feel free to schedule a consultation call with me. We can talk about some of these issues, and I can make sure that you are really, really prepared. Get your example flyer ready and make sure your topic, title, and description are really nailed down so you feel confident planning that next workshop. All right, have a great day, Yoga Teachers.